I think we're going live right now. How's the weather in Mississippi?
Oh, it's pretty nice today. We are about like 70, and
Nice.
oh yeah, it's been really good. And here usually it's very, very humid, but today has been really, really good.
Nice.
So it's been great.
Good. I hear we might get snow. I heard the word snow recently today. So like, oh no, it's April.
Oh
We can't
God.
have snow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anyways. Oh, I think we're live. We are live. Yay. Hello, everybody. Hello. Hi, welcome to tonight's Spiritual Cafe Live. My guest this evening is Ingrid Honkala. She's from Bogota, Colombia. She is a marine biologist and oceanographer. Am I saying that right?
Yes,
Yes. Yeah,
you
she's a
are.
scientist. And she's experienced a near-death, she had a near-death experience as a child, and I want to hear all about it. And also, she, from as long as she can remember, she has seen beings of light. And I want to hear so much more about that. So can you tell us all about how far, I'm sure that, were you 2 years old when you had the near-death experience?
Yes, yes. I was close to 3 years old. So yeah, I was just still a little child, and oh, it just happened as an accident that should not have happened, but this is how life unfolds. It's so unique for each one of us. So to tell the story, I at the time both of my parents work, and they would leave us at the care of a maid. And back in the day, it was part of the culture that the maid will live in the house with the family. So my parents would just leave very early for work, and she would stay with us. And she was a young lady that really didn't pay much attention to us when my parents were not around. So early one morning, 6, it was pretty early, they left for work, and I had two sisters, or I have now 3 sisters, but at the time I had 2 sisters, one that was close to 4, I was close to 3, and a youngest one that was 1. And once I left, the lady went back to her room, forgot about us. And my oldest sister and I decided, oh, let's go play in the patio. Nobody's watching, let's go. And then we just went to the patio. And in this patio, there was a tank. And this tank, the purpose of this tank was to collect water for hand washing clothes. Back in the day, we didn't have a washing machine. So next to the tank, there was a flat surface for scrubbing. And this was a big tank. It held about 900 gallons of water. So my sister and I found a ball in the patio and just look at the ball, look at the tank, and thought, oh, let's play cash across the tank. At that age, what is going to happen? There's no danger in the mind of a child. So we climbed on the tank. She sat on the flat surface, so she was a little bit safer. I went to the other side where there was like a thin edge, but it was the only way we could just throw the ball to each other. I was there leaning very precariously in the tank, but again, what is the danger?
Yeah.
And then she grabbed the ball, she threw the ball, and she didn't apply enough force, and the ball fell on the water. And then I leaned forward thinking that I could grab it. And then when I went to grab it, it rolled on the surface of the water, and I fell in the tank. And at that age and at that time of my life, I never been in a pool. We didn't have a bathtub, so I never had really my head under the water. I didn't know that if you are in a situation like that, you cannot breathe. I didn't know anything about that. So of course, when I found myself under the water, not being able to breathe, the sense of panic was intense. And the other thing that was just horrific was that people have the misconception that because I was born in Colombia, I come from a hot weather country. But Bogota's high up in the Andes. And the temperature in the water at that moment was probably 40 degrees Fahrenheit. So that was the other thing. Once I fell in the water, there was this sense of the water being frigid cold. And I felt that my chest had imploded. It was that sense like, and then at the same time, what is going on? I cannot breathe. And when I am in this state of absolute horror, Laura, in just a flash, I went from that state of terror to state of absolute peace. It was like, oh, from everything is going on to nothing is happening. And it was the sense of absolute calmness and just well-being. And then I always say that this experience was amazing. And one of the reasons why I would say I cannot forget it was because there was a lot of contrast in the experience. One of the things was that this tank was very dark. It was entirely made of cement, and it had a roof. So it was a very, very dark space. And the last thing I saw before I had the sense of peace and calmness was just darkness. And then right there, once I went into that space of bliss, ding, a light came on. And it came from the bottom. And it was like if the light of a candle had been lit, and that light was soft and was enough to just give light to the entire watery surrounding. And then the other incredible contrast was that the moment I fell in the water, and imagine just the state of panic, I could hear my heart beating really loud, just in the state of anxiety, terror, boom, 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 and I could hear it in my head. Mm-hmm. And once I was at peace, I experienced what I call the silence behind the silence. There was no more sound. There was only peace. It was absolutely quiet. And incredibly, through all my life after that, I craved that silence. And then once in the water, in this state of absolute just calmness, peace, quiet, light, this comfort of feeling so good, I started to see bubbles suspended in the water, and these bubbles were surrounded by light. And then it was like by chasing these bubbles that I turned around, and then I saw a body suspended in the water. And incredibly, at that moment, I had the realization that that was my body. And the other incredible thing, it was not just that, but I also had the sense of familiarity with the situation. It was like, oh, this already happened before. And then I also at that moment knew that I could make a choice. And this comes the other incredible contrast in life. And it's when sometimes we say why a child is born sick, or why things happen, why this or that. The other thing was I was born as a very sick child. And I spent the first 3 years of my life, almost 3, feeling very unwell. But incredibly, this was providing to me at that moment the contrast of knowing how it was to be unwell and how it was to feel incredibly well. Mm-hmm. So of course, at that moment when I saw that body, the first thing that came to my mind is like, oh, I'm not going back there. And at that moment, I had the possibility to make that choice. And then I turned around and I left the body behind. And when I turned around, I started to see flowers that were blooming from nowhere.
In the water?
In the water. At that moment, it was even like, when people ask me, I just think about it and I'm like, wow, it's like there's not even more sense of being in the water.
Yeah.
And there's not even now a sense of dimension, because these flowers were blooming and now the flowers pick me up. So it had to be some pretty big flowers. So, but there
Wow.
was no sense of any of these anymore. So I was just picked up by the flowers, and I just was being carried. And it's when I said to people, to give an analogy, it was the sense that going back to the womb, where you don't have to do absolutely anything, you're just being done. And there was not a state of desiring anything or wanting anything or thinking it was just, just please. And when I'm being carried by these flowers, in just a second, in just like that, I appear in the maid's room. And I was looking at her from above, like if I'm floating and in the roof, and she was there lying on her bed. And the memories are so vivid and so clear that I can even remember that she was listening a soap opera in the radio. And then I just looked at her and I said, oh, that's Maria. But nothing happened. Just, okay. And then again, in just a flash, I appear on my mom's path. And my mom didn't have a car back then, and she had to walk, and it was about 10 minutes away, her bus stopped. So she had to cross all this neighborhood to get there. And then I appeared on her path, and when I saw her, I am like, oh, that's mom. Oh my God, Laura. At that moment, she stopped. She didn't even hesitate. She didn't even give another step. Nothing. She just stopped. And she knew that something was happening at home. And at that very moment, she turned around and started to run back home. And I saw her, and I just didn't think much about it. And then I got distracted by the realization that wherever I put my mind, I could go. So if I would see a dog at the end of the street, I love animals, whoop, I was with the dog. If I was going to turn my head and look somewhere else, I was there. So I just started to play this game of going places. So it was for me like time and space had vanished, and I could be any place at any time.
Amazing.
And then from there, again, it like happened all in this experience again and again in just a second. I appeared in a realm that was made of pure, bright, intense, shiny light. And then I was in the sense of like, oh, I am back home.
This was at 2 years old. You knew you were back home.
Yes, this is incredible because it was the sense of like, but I put the example is like not even 3 years had passed or 2, but it was almost 3. I was almost 3. And at that moment is the sense of like when you left in the morning to go for work and you come back in the afternoon and you just feel like, oh, it's so good to be home. Not even 3 years had passed.
Yeah.
So it was again the sense of familiarity, like, oh, I'm just home. And although I didn't see anybody, I never felt that I was alone. It was the sense that I was being welcome. And another incredible thing is that although I saw my body suspended in the water and I walked away from it, up to this point, I didn't have the realization that I was not Ingrid. I was not that persona. And then at that moment is when I realized I am not that. And I started to diffuse, like to just be part of the whole. And it was this sense of like, I was still having a sense of self, but I was not Ingrid. And then it went even further than that. I just experienced what I call the state of non-self, or the state of, I just call it nothingness. Mm-hmm. Some people feel scared about the word nothingness, but it's the nothingness that at the same time is wholeness. It's when people ask me what nothing means, I say the moment I tell you what is, it becomes something. It's just that place where the mind cannot give a description, is nothing you really can think with your mind. It's beyond the mind. The only thing I can say is a state of absolute presence and consciousness. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'm experiencing this state, which is, I would just say, absolute bliss, my mom finally made it home. And this was the only amazing thing. Although we live in a big house, she knew exactly where to go. And she directed herself to the back of the house. And my sister was still there, like in the tank, and she was trying to get me out of the water. And later on, through time, when I started to ask all the questions about my near-death experience to the beings of light, they revealed the purpose of all of it, all the symbols, everything. And the purpose of my sister right there was to show my mom, yeah, Ingrid is for sure in that tank. And she told my mom, Ingrid is there and I cannot get her. And my mom, this was incredible because she was trained CPR for children because she worked with children. And then she got me out of the water. She said that I was like a raggedy doll. There was no pulse, no breathing. And she started to do what she knew to revive me. And at this point, Laura, I was so disconnected from, I would say, this dimension, this reality, Ingrid, that I did not feel absolutely anything. And then again, like everything in this experience, there was a moment in which in just a blink, I felt that I was jumping from the tallest building in the world. And there's nothing I could do to stop this. And it was that sense of like, no. The other thing is I felt that, it was not pleasant at all. It was the feeling of like being vacuumed, like being sucked back.
Yeah.
And I knew I was back because all the feelings of discomfort and coldness and feeling unwell and all that was back. And I was not a happy child.
So you didn't have a choice.
I did not have a choice. Yeah, I was not asked if this just happened. And after that, things were very hard for us, very hard for me, because I was not happy to be back. And I came back with an awareness I did not have before. And I know that I was too young, and people would think, oh, 3 years old, but yeah, you were surprised at a 3-year-old, and I have a son, and I know how much personality they have developed when they are 3.
Right.
And then I came back, and when I look at my parents, I had this clarity, this realization that they were not just my parents. They were my equal. And when I look at my body, I would just be like, I'm not this child. And I never felt like I was a child again. Because now I had a mind that had seen and had experienced something that was bigger than the body. It's beyond this reality. And I could not relate with other children because I would look at them and think, what is happening with these people?
So what was important to them wasn't important to you because you had a different perspective?
Yes, yeah. It wasn't. And the other thing is I came with abilities I didn't have before. So not long after my near-death experience, we realized that I could read and write, that I could resolve mathematical problems, that I could put together complex puzzles. So when all this is happening, I'm just realizing, oh, I'm not learning anything. I'm just remembering.
That's amazing. So before this, you couldn't read, write, do math, anything like that. But then, wow.
No, just the simple things. So like little children. Yeah. And then I wasn't even in school yet. None of that.
So you said your mom saw you when you were out of your body. Does your mom also does she have these abilities as well?
She said that she felt me. I don't know, she didn't mention she saw me, but she felt me. And my mom is highly, highly intuitive. And yes, over time, when I was about 5 years old, we can come back and forth to what happened before that. But when I was around 5 is when I started to see what we call spirits. And it's when my mom actually said or confessed to me, opened to me and said, or realized that I could see things that others couldn't see. And it's when she said to me, I can also see spirits as well. And she could see spirits, and she was, I think, between 3 and 5 years old too. So yeah, my mom was always very intuitive and always very connected. So this is incredible, because it's amazing to know that this connection, I went to the other realm, I connected with my mom, and I came back to tell, yeah, this connection is true. Truly hear me, and she was the one that went and saved me.
So do you think that was all planned?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
It was all planned. And years later, I asked the beings of light. There was two really amazing, many questions, many things I asked to them. But once I started to ask about my near-death experience, I asked to them why my near-death experience, what happened when I was so young. And this answered part of your question. This meant to happen. They said, because you were old enough to remember, but young enough not to be conditioned yet. And this is the way it had to be for you. And the other thing I asked, what was the purpose of my near-death experience? And this was absolutely incredible, because they said to me, look, remember when you saw your body in the water and you decided not to come back? And I said, yeah, that was not the plan. So when I decided not to come back there at that moment, that was my ego mind. But guess what? The ego mind is not the one controlling. It's not the one like planning the game. So
exactly.
No, my true purpose was to come back. So reason why I went to look for the maid, and I went to look for my mom. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I said, then why did I stop and waste time with the maid instead of going directly to my mom? And they said, because that is what you came to show, what you came to deliver with your experience, the purpose of connection, the power of connection. Look what happened when you went and meet the maid. Oh, and this is what is offering contrast, because this is being human is experiencing contrast, and through contrast we learn. So they said, look, when you met the maid, what happened? She couldn't hear. Why? Because there was no connection. Actually, this lady even mistreated us. So there was not love there. What happened when I went and meet my mom? Complete connection, unconditional love. So it's when you realize that love doesn't have boundaries, not even between dimensions, not even between realms, and there's no time, there's not a space. And my mom, who was 10 minutes away from home, was the one that rescued me, and the lady that was few feet away couldn't feel anything. So the beings of light said to me, look, when there is no connection, they will let you drown. When there is no connection, war will happen. When there's unconditional love, complete connection, then we are here for each other. We're here to uplift, to save each other, to help each other, to
be connected.
To be connected, to help each other, to realize we are that light. So that was so beautiful to get to just the realization and knowing that there is a plan, yes, for each one of us, and we have a purpose. All of us have a purpose that is unique. That's the unique of each one of us.
Right.
Each one of us are part of a puzzle, and if all the pieces of the puzzle were the same, then there was nothing that we could do for each other.
It's true. Contrasts of everything, right? So you can
Exactly.
experience those contrasts.
Exactly.
Now, the beings of light, did you see them before you had your near-death experience?
Not, it is possible that all of us are, when we are babies, are so open that maybe we all do, but I did not have a clear mind that I did, or a memory that I did. And it didn't happen even immediately after the near death. It happened over time. So what happened is that after the near-death experience, I started to have what we know today as out-of-body experiences. So right after, I would just go to bed, and I started to experience the same changes. And this was actually a little disturbing at the beginning, because it was changes in speed, changes in frequency, changes in color, movements that I have never seen in this realm. And it was a little kind of disturbing, but I would just go to that realm of the light. So nothing else mattered. I wanted to be in the light because it felt so incredibly well. And then I kept experiencing this. And at that moment of my life, all I wanted to do was to go to sleep, because I wanted to be there in that light. My parents kept working, and they, of course, this lady got fired, but they hired another one, and the other one didn't really pay much attention either. And for her, it was best if we were sleeping. So there was no one. Look, even this is amazing, because later when I asked the beings of light what was the purpose of my parents being gone, working so much, they said that way there was less nobody will interfere, or you were left alone to do what wasn't needed for you to do. So I'm having these out-of-body experiences every time I went to sleep, and I just wanted to keep sleeping. And in one of these journeys, one day I was surrounded by lights, and these lights were like shining in all different colors. They were like starlight figures. And I'm just like, wow, just mesmerized by this. And then now I really wanted to sleep. Like, I want to be with these lights. Yeah. And then in one and another journey, one of these lights shaped itself. It was shining in bright gold, and it shaped itself into a human form. And it approached me, and it touched me. And it's when I said, oh, you are a being of light. So at that moment, it was the sense that, oh, you are like I am. And that's one thing that happened when I had my near-death experience that I didn't mention. Once I had the sense of non-self that I was diffusing with the whole, I also had the realization that I was a being of light. Then at this moment, when I see this being, I'm like, of course we are the same. You are a being of light. Oh, and after that, now it was like amazing. I just wanted to be with these beings. But of course, we have to have balance. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, imagine I could not be just the girl that slept forever. So
right. You had to live your life too, right?
Yeah, something had to happen to balance this. So one day I'm relaxing, taking just a shower, and then right there. And now by this time, I was close to 5 years old. So already some time had passed that I've just experiencing all this. And then a light appeared in the bathroom, and it was blue, intense, shining, like huge light. And then I realized, oh, now the beings of light are here. And this was incredible, Laura, because although they didn't do or say anything, their presence was so amazing that I started to heal. From the moment I started to see them in these out-of-body experiences, I started to heal, because there was a moment in which I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I became very angry because I could not express what was happening to me. I could not express with words.
Because of that experience you had with the near-death experience and that separation, or not the separation, the awareness that you weren't your body, that you weren't Ingrid, that you weren't this personality, right?
Yes.
And so you were reconciling that in your young mind, and it was hard for you to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and also the fact that I felt that I didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
And I will look at myself in the mirror and I will just cry, and I will go to my mom and say, you don't understand. This is not me. This is not my name, and I should not be here. My poor mom. But thanks to this and this door that just opened for me to have this connection with the beings of light, all that started to heal. And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
but I felt so loved, so good, that I started to heal and talk again with the people, with my sisters, play. But there was a moment at this point I only could really just see and feel. It was just the sense of like well-being. And the time I started to hear was one day that my parents were calling me to go eat dinner. And they were like, Ingrid, Ingrid, Ingrid. Oh, it wasn't my parents, it was the lady working with us at the moment. She was calling my name, and I was like, I would get very aggravated because I didn't feel connection with my name. I did. And then sometimes it really bothered me. And then she came, don't you hear, we're calling you to eat dinner. And I said, don't call me like that. That is not my name. Then she said, oh, so how should I call you? What is your name? And I said, I do not need one. And that night they just all mad at me, sent me to bed because I was just throwing these tantrums. And then that was the night I started to hear, and it was when the voice said to me, it was the most incredible, compassionate, soft voice. And it said to me, it's going to take time for them to understand that names are not needed in the realm of the light, as you already know. Oh, for me, that was this big relief. It was the sense like, oh, I am not crazy. I know why I don't need a name. And it's also when they said to me, all that is happening and all that is going to happen are all gifts. And these gifts are all given to you, not to keep, but to give. And they say someday you will be able to do it. Someday people will be open and you will be ready for it. And they said, for now, you have to keep quiet. It was not like they were saying you must. No, it was like, it's best if you do, because they're not going to understand. And that age, I was like, what do you mean they're not going to understand? What is not to understand, really?
Right.
But yeah, soon I started to go to school, and and at church, when I talked to the priest and I started to mention, and everybody will be like, what are you talking about?
Oh, what did the priest say?
Oh, no.
I can imagine.
Oh, no, yeah. And once I went to him and I said that we shouldn't fear God, because God was just pure love. There was nothing to fear. Oh, because I was raised in a very, I would just say 98% of the population was Catholic, very strict, very close-minded. Maybe nowadays there's more, people are becoming more open-minded, but back then, no. And thinking about communicating with anything that was called a spirit or anything like that was just evil, was bad. You could not talk about these things. So there was not any knowledge about near-death experiences. So when I went to him saying things like that, he said, you don't know what you're talking about. You're just a child.
Wow.
And I just, so I just realized pretty soon at a school, if I would mention anything, even not even talking about this, even with the abilities I had, at the time there was not really a school that would help children that had more developed abilities to do anything. It was like, if you know more than us, sit in that corner and let us be. So I just felt myself isolated. I just felt myself pretty much in a place where I could not really share anything, and feeling very, very, very different. There was a moment, Laura, I was so sad, and I would just go to the beings of light and say, why me? Why this is happening to me? Because I wanted to be like everyone else, or I wanted others to understand what I was experiencing. And it's when they said to me something very, very beautiful. They said to me, because you are special. And I said, what do you mean when you say that I am special? And they answer something even more beautiful. They say, everybody is special, but not everybody knows it yet. So the difference is that you are beginning to know it. And they said, someday everybody will know. And everybody will be able to see us, and everybody will be able to communicate with us, and this door will open. And that was 40 years ago.
So what are the beings of light? What are they? Our guides? Are they your guides? Do we all have these beings of light around us? Do you see them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. We all do. We all do. People ask me, sometimes it's just, I would just say, not funny, but it's just, we don't know. People don't know. But I just say to people, no, because they would ask me how they summon you, how you summon them. And I said, no, none of that.
Right.
I said, it's like radio waves, like TV waves, like
Yeah.
internet waves. Everything is here.
The
It's here and
frequency.
now. It's the free. Exactly. So I
Yeah.
said, we are like radios. You will learn to tune with these frequencies, with these waves, with these dimensions. Then it's just like that. You put your radio, you change your dial, and you tune with the radio station you want to hear.
Yeah.
It's the exact same. Everything is here and now. We just have to learn to clear our mind, to calm our mind, to create a space so we can hear. When the mind is too busy, how can we hear? It's not possible.
Yeah.
But once we learn to create that space, to quiet the mind, to calm the mind, then now we're opening that space where now we can communicate and we can hear.
So what is the purpose of the light beings in your life? Are they there to just guide you? Are they there to, why do they come into you? Why do they make themselves aware to you or come to your awareness?
Oh, I think actually they come to the awareness of it. They are there for everybody. But again, thankfully, I mean, I had the near-death experience when I was so young, and the door opened when I was young. And from then I've been able to have this clarity, this connection. If all of us are able to open that door, they are available for everybody, and all the teachings are available for everybody. But say in my case, and the way it happened, I meant to remember since I was younger. I guess all of us have a path of evolution that we are following. And in my case, I meant to remember when I was younger, others at different age. And then being there is, it's been amazing, because it's just that connection that had allowed me to open this door to share with other people, to bring others to remember. We're not doing anything. I said, I'm not doing anything. Everything is done through us. We're vehicles of the divine. And I said, we're here to be the light in the path of each other. Even the beings of light, what we call spirits, what we call ascended master, we are all beings of light. And we are the light in the path for each other. We are all here to bring each other to remember who we truly are, to go to the root of who we are. And you and me, the more clarity we have, we can share this clarity with others. Each, like I said, each awakened being serve in the path of, or serve as for hundreds and thousands more to awaken. Awaken to what? Awaken to the truth of who we are, which is nothing else than unconditional love, compassion, kindness. Oh, we are greatness, and we don't know that. So we're here to kind of to help each other to remember who we are.
Yeah. So how can someone who feels like they don't feel connected to those beings of light, whether it be our guides, our spiritual team, how can someone open that door so that they may not be able to get the same level of awareness that you have, but how can they start to open that door, be more aware that they're in their life?
Yeah, for me, it was very important that besides having the door open was to keep it open, because this is become active part of our life. Because I even experienced the time where I was so busy, my mind became so busy and so distracted that in a way I never closed completely, because I always had the awareness, but I disconnected for a while. And that's why it's so important that we have practices that can bring us there, practices of meditation, practices of where we are bringing ourselves to have a mind that is calm, that is clear, that is less busy. I started to meditate when I was 8 years old. And this was incredible because it all happened. The beings of light said to me, people will be put in your path to guide you. And it happened the way they said. And sometimes we don't realize because we're too busy, but miracles are happening for us every single day. And they are in the ways of synchronicities, in the way of people appearing in our lives, books, animals, gifts, but we don't see it. The mind is so busy that we cannot see it as that. And then we cannot have the sense that this is being given to me. We always have the sense this is happening to me. No, this all is happening for us. So I was very young. My grandmother came to our house, and she pulled from her purse a picture of a guru sitting in a lotus position meditating. And I'm like, oh, auras, I could see auras. And then I said, oh, grandma. And then we started to talk, and she started to talk about spirituality and all these things, because she was a very rebellious woman. And she didn't just want to follow the Catholic teachings. She wanted to just know more, learn more. She said, there's more than this. And then she started to study all their philosophies, all their religions, ways of thinking. And then she brought these teachings to our house. And I said, oh, grandma didn't know she was bringing them here for me. Then she started to talk about meditation, and she taught me how to just use the word Om and meditate. And I said, and she asked me, she just said, just say this. And I said, Om. And she said, did you think about anything when you were repeating this mantra? She said, this sound. And I said, no, grandma. She said, then you are meditating. That's a way in which you are, the mind is out of the way. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, grandma, this is great. And from then I started to practice, to meditate. And when I was 12 years old, she brought me to the first Buddhist temple that I visited in my life. And it was a Zen Buddhist temple in Bogota, which was something unheard at the time. And this was this little house in the middle of nowhere. And she took me there, and I learned my first breathing meditation technique. And then I told the monk, oh, I don't think I can come back because my grandma is a very busy woman. And he said, you never have to come back here. And I said, really, why? And he said, because you already have a temple. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, you are the temple. So wherever you are, you can practice this meditation. And this is what I am telling, or I'm sharing with people nowadays. You don't really even have to complicate yourself with, I have to have this cushion, this chair, this candle, this room, this light. No. Mm-hmm. Now we have to adapt the meditation to our day, to our stressful, moving day, to the modern days. And this is something I can talk to you too about, but this is something I'm learning and is being shared with me nowadays, how to be able to apply all these, the way of meditating, but in our daily stress. And I said to people, just stop at any moment and breathe. And I just said to people, if you, the way I was telling the people, just have a little note wherever you are in your hand, in a sticky note, wherever, and write the words, I exist. When do you ever think about that? I exist? What is that? We're just thinking about the money, the bus, the day, the time, I'm late, I'm early, I'm hungry. When do you stop and think, I exist? So do at least one conscious breathing. Wow, that's all you need.
Get
and
centered.
then
Yeah.
yes,
You're
to
fully
just
present. Yeah.
center yourself. And another thing I do is, like I said, people, if you have time, go for a walk. Even if you don't have time, this is the other thing. When you think you don't have time, but I said, get out of your car, step on the ground. There's a noise. Oh, be present of that. Listen. Then you open the door. Then you close the door. Be present to all that. And the more you practice this, the more you realize, wow, I'm not thinking. I'm not trapped in a world of thinking. I'm just letting my mind flow with what is. And I have done it to the point I do walking meditations. And Laura, I've reached the point that I'm walking and I'm listening to every bird, the leaves, the feeling the wind, hearing up my steps, absolutely everything, to the point that there was a day that a leaf was breaking out of a branch and I could sense this leaf breaking. I could sense it, hear it, feel it, and the leaf just fell. There was another day that I didn't even know it was going to rain, and then a drop fell, and I had my eyes closed. I was just a few steps with my eyes closed, slow, and I heard the drop, and it went through my entire head. And I'm like, oh, it's going to rain. So that's the way is by calming our mind. But you know, one time the beings of light gave me the example that through time, they put the thoughts as a balloons. Let's call it a sticky balloons. Thoughts are, that's why thoughts are called thought forms, energy forms. Mm-hmm. And then they give me this analogy of like balloons. And when we are little, we just knew. So, okay, everything is new, fresh. Then we start catching these balloons. And the idea was that we should have just get the balloon and let it go. So a fresh one could come, and let it go and a fresh one could come. But we don't do that. We start holding balloons with so many strings that at some point we are so cluttered with balloons that nothing else can come. There's no room anymore. So as we start practicing awareness, as we start doing practices of clearing the mind, then we start identifying these emotions and identifying how to look at this emotion from distance, then we start freeing these strings.
And like you said, we don't have to get the mala beads and the meditation cushion, and we don't have to burn the incense and everything. We just be present, just find the 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, and be fully present, right?
I would just say even you in 2 seconds.
Yeah, just take a breath.
Take a breath. When you're doing the dishes, when I do the dishes, I do it, I feel the water in my hands. I'm like, oh, the soap in the dishes. So you can, it's in your daily life. It's in everything you do. And then it start becoming part of your life and you start clearing your mind. There was a moment where the beings of light showed me something really beautiful. There was a lake. It was a huge lake. And it was completely calm. And they grab a pebble and they drop it in the water. And when the pebble touched the water, you know, the mind is always going to think, yeah, it created a ripple. It was the complete opposite. When the pebble fell in the water, there was not a ripple. So what this means, that no matter how many challenges, how many pebbles are hitting the water, if you are in the state of complete calmness, none of these challenges are going to affect you. You don't have to create a suffering from a challenge. You just have to be aware. Oh, this is a challenge. This is a moment of contrast. There's something I have not corrected or I haven't seen within myself, and this challenge is showing me a new way. It's bringing me to ask a new question.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because it's not to say challenges don't exist or to ignore the challenges. It's to allow that space for insight and solutions to come into your mind, you know. And yeah, a lot of people think that meditating is an escapism, and it's just allowing space for solutions to come and for a new awareness and insight.
Yes, for clarity, to know how the answer, to connect with wisdom. Mm-hmm. So in this analogy with the pebble, or in this vision I had about the pebble, they even said, nature, look at how amazing nature is. In every way, nature is pointing you within. And they said, what do you think that the human body is made like, I think 70% of water. Yeah. They said, that's what you have to see. Keep your inner water calm. Keep your inner water calm. So now when I am even in making a line or in the car, or somebody just driving like crazy, I just say, just keep your inner water calm. Keep your inner water calm. So that's beautiful. And when all this happen and challenges present in your life, you stop seeing challenges as something negative and you see them as an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to evolve. And then, maybe I cannot say that, oh yeah, I'm the most awakened and nothing touches me. No, a challenge come and I might be just disturbed for a minute, but it's not like in the past when I would stay and create drama. The pebble is that, like when there's not a ripple, is that you don't create drama. What you do is you are able, like you just said, to stop, breathe, calm the mind, think clearly, and now you are open to the connection to higher wisdom, guides, beings of light, masters, angels. Show me the way. And I said, my prayer nowadays is not changed. I never ask for things to be changed. I ask for clarity. I just say, God, help me see because I cannot see. Help
Allow
me
that
see.
to unfold.
Yes, then I get the answer and I know what to do, and I don't get attached to the experience and create a whole story and create a drama. Suffering comes when we create a story around a situation. But if there's no story, there's no drama, there's no suffering. We continue. I put the example that there's a road and the road opens. There's a challenge, and now what do I do? You can always make the choice. I call it the path of suffering or the path of clarity, the path of the light. So the path of suffering is at the moment you get trapped in that. You create a story, you create drama, and I call it the cul-de-sac of suffering. Guess what? You don't go anywhere. And you can be stuck in this cul-de-sac for years. It depending on your level of awareness for how long I'm going to remain here. That's what all this spirituality does for us, is open us to be aware of what is happening to you, your emotions, your thoughts, your state of being. Am I identifying with the story, or am I identifying with, how would you say, the depthness of who I am?
Well, it's like, Eckhart Tolle said, I think it was Eckhart Tolle, I apologize if I get it wrong. If you're facing a challenge, to go forward as if, I'm paraphrasing, to go forward as if you chose this.
Yes, I love
why
that.
would you, a lot of people say, why would I choose to be ill? Why would I choose to lose my job? Why would I choose these things? because you're not fighting against what is anymore. You're going towards a solution and seeing what is and working with what is. And it's come from a much more empowered place. And
yes.
yeah. So
And this is, and from there you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you're not stuck in this cul-de-sac of suffering. I think I love the analogy that is when you get in a car, you start pressing the gas, but you never put the car in gear. Guess what? You spend all your energy, you spend all your gas, and you don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If I
That's
fight
where anxiety
what is,
goes. Yeah.
and you create all these stress hormones, and you get trapped in the stress and in sickness and all that,
Yeah.
you didn't go anywhere, you didn't do anything. But the moment you take the other route and you make the decision of, okay, what this is for, why did I lose the job, what did I get the sickness, what this is for. So now you're opening yourself to clarity, you're asking, and then you're getting out of the way to just asking the universe. Sometimes I don't know. I said, God, I leave it in your hands. I don't have idea. Help me see. Bring the clarity, and then the answers will come. Oh, wow, thanks that I didn't do this. I have this incredible experience. There was a time where I was looking for a job, and I was working, it was a few years ago, working with mangrove ecosystems. And I was an expert in mangroves. I was the expert in the field there in Colombia, and I went to look for this job, and I thought I was going to get the job because, oh, come on, I am the one that knew. And then I didn't get the job. And I'm like, what? And I'm beating myself like, how did I didn't get this job? Maybe I wasn't smart enough. My answers were not good enough. Oh gosh, all the things that you put on yourself. And then all the suffering and pain. And through the years passed, and one day, after beating myself for a long time because I didn't get this job, I learned that the person that actually got the job, Colombia has always been a country in a lot of problems, and there was been like an internal war like for 70 years. And at the time it was really, really bad. And then there was a moment where another person got hired for this position, and I learned that the person that actually got hired had been killed when he went to the field to do the job. So imagine, it was how my perception changed at that moment, from a state of like, oh my God, beating myself, I didn't get this job, from like, oh, thanks God, I did not get the job. So we don't know what anything is for.
Exactly.
So what if we just, instead of fighting and resisting, we just allow things to unfold, and we just, there's a moment we don't have the clarity, we don't know, but at the end, everything is showing us a different path, a new thing, we start asking new questions, the new answer come, and then we evolve, and we just sometimes need to break with what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And life will, and if we don't listen, life will just push us hard until we listen.
It's true. We'll get some wake-up calls that kind of knock us down. Yeah. So just to switch gears a little bit, because you are a scientist, how do you think science and spirituality can exist together?
Definitely yes. Okay. I just cannot even see the separation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's like, oh, you became a scientist. How a person that is so spiritual can be a scientist? And I said, because the separation is in the mind. I said to people, if you are, first, I ask people, you know what being a spiritual is? People sometimes don't have that clarity. It's not about learning a bunch of concepts. Being spiritual is being your authentic self. It's going back to the nature of who you are. What is the nature of who you are? Love, compassion, kindness, joy, calmness, peace, tranquility. If you are that, Laura, you are spiritual in whatever you are doing. You can be a scientist, you can be a carpenter, you can be a, I don't know, male person, whatever you do. So I don't see where this rupture, this difference is happening. Even when I was doing my job as a scientist, the more connected I was, the greater the projects I developed, because you get inspired. Again, when you're not, the mind is not so busy. Oh, it's open. The being so light once said to me, you think that people are thinking? And I said, of course, they think all the time.
Yeah.
And I said, no, they're not really truly thinking. They're only remembering. And they said, when you're truly, truly thinking, the true thinking is when you're connected with the creative thinking of the universe. That was the purpose of humans thinking, not to be cluttered, not to be trapped in memories, was to create, was to receive all this divine intelligence and bring it for the good and evolution of all of us. So that was incredible, because when I realized, oh wow, yeah, we're just trapped continually in memories. And once we start practicing, just again going back to practice awareness, going back to declutter the mind, to be peaceful, to become, then now we're opening the way for the creativity to be manifested through us, and it can be done in anything we do. And actually nowadays we're talking about what science is doing is actually proving what spirituality has been demonstrating all these years. We are energy. We're all connected. We are, the more we practice, even our and I love all the teachings, like Bruce Lipton, when he talks about the biology of belief, is proving that is not our genes, our cells that are controlling us. We control, or we can be the environment, the perfect environment for our system to work in alignment, or we can turn it into the worst environment for it to be ill, for it to just be depressed, for it to just manifest all time, all kind of difficulties. So it all depends. When we meditate, like I was mentioned today earlier, I'm now learning these new ways of practicing meditation for daily stress. And what it does is that the more you calm your mind, the less cortisol and the less stress hormones we are producing. And this is now all being scientifically proved. And the more that we calm our mind, the more dopamine, the more serotonin. So we are creating a space, an environment that is perfect for ourselves. Bruce Lipton called it like our whole body is like a petri dish. is the perfect medium for the cells to be healthy. So we can keep our system healthy, or we can keep it unhealthy, and all depends where we are focusing our mind. How are we feeding ourselves every day? The being so light said to me, put the example that you love cake, and every day you're going to bake a cake, or you love vegetables, or you love bread. I don't know how you want to bake this cake every day, which ingredients you want to put in this cake. You want to put poison and feed yourself with poison, or you want to put things that are going to make you feel great and elevated, and things that, and you're sharing with others this energy. Say, I'm sharing this cake with others. Am I poisoning everybody with my actions, with my behavior, with my energy, with my attitude? So and yes, science is proving all of that. We can, with the way we act, and the way we perceive the world, and the way we manage ourselves, we are being clear, and we are sharing clarity, or we are being the poison for ourselves and for others.
Right.
It's all about energy.
It is. Exactly.
Yeah.
So power of thoughts are really important.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And that's something that you mentioned in your book, is the power of your thinking, and how it's a real thing. It's a real, it's almost tangible. I mean, it's for me, I know, because you're sensitive too, you know, the power of thoughts can be so tangible to us.
Yeah, yes. And the other thing that you were mentioning before, some people think that meditation is like kind of like running away from the problems or the challenges or the situations. And actually it's not like that. It's becoming more aware of our emotions. So in this meditation for daily stress that I'm learning nowadays, there's one method that is absolutely beautiful. So it's, for example, you have the clarity that you have anger, or that you're stressed. And it's not like, oh, run away from it and push away this stress. No, it's acknowledge the presence of this emotion. And then this meditation is beautiful because you, as you meditate, it's a guided meditation. You see the ocean, and the ocean waves are at the beginning right on top of you. And then what happens when you are right there, and the waves are hitting your face and you cannot breathe, and oh my God, what a stress is this? There's a lot of tension. And then you're feeling the coldness and you're feeling the beating of the waves. That's when you are immersed in an emotion. And then now you recognize, okay, this emotion is here. This anxiety is here. This stress is here. The moment you start observing it and recognizing that there's something there, oh, you're already aware. Then now you can start practicing a way to distance yourself from it. So this approach of meditation, you start seeing the waves a little bit farther. So you walk in the beach, and now, and it involves breathing. So say that you have the waves too close, you're breathing fast. Oh gosh, you're catching your air. The more you distance now, and now you distance yourself more from these waves. Now you hear it less. Now you feel it less. Until you reach the point where you're so far away that you pretty much cannot even hear it. You're just in the space of calmness. That's what you do when you clear your mind. You're creating a space. You're distancing yourself from this emotion, and now you can become the observer of that. And then, and the more you do these kind of practices, then later you bring it to your life. So you say at that moment, your boss scream at you, or somebody treat you, but in your mind, you can recreate yourself distancing from it, observing it, and creating, and say, I'm not being trapped by this wave. I'm not going to put my head under, because if I do that, guess what? I free more stress hormones, and I'm going to feel horrible, and this is going to feel bad. But the more you train yourself, you retrain yourself to feel well, you want to be well. And the more that you practice all these, you want to be in that space where you feel great. And then it becomes automatic. The moment anything happens, wow, no, I'm not going to be stuck in this suffering. And this is also the way to know where you are. Every time these moments of contrast come to your life, is the moment that you know, like, oh, I know where I am in my spiritual evolution, or in all this awareness, in my process of awakening. Then, oh, every time you catch yourself, and you start catching yourself faster and faster, and going back to alignment faster and faster and faster. So this is really beautiful.
And this is a good time. Well, some people unfortunately don't have the luxury to step back and actually integrate some meditation in their life at the moment, but there's a lot of people who can right now, because they got extra time on their hands. So this is a great time to, if anybody's been thinking about integrating meditation into life in some way, shape, or form. I'm not saying you have to have like a half-hour meditation every day. Just give yourself a couple of minutes to go walk for 2 minutes, take a breath, and like you said, just be fully present for what's around you, what you're hearing, what you're experiencing, what you're smelling, everything, even the temperature, all those things. We have a lot of us have that time right now to be able to really be fully present, to really understand what that feels like. So when we go back to our busy lives, then we'll be able to recognize, okay, I really need that time to sit back and
Yes.
just be fully present. Yeah.
Yes, and that's all we see. Even like you're mentioning right there, we see everything that is happening, even these moments where all these crisis is happening as an opportunity to to change our ways, an opportunity to reprogram ourselves. And then the moment we reprogram, believe me, we don't want to go back to the old self, because
No.
the new self feels good. Why do you want to feel bad when you learn that feeling good is good?
Exactly. Yeah. So one last question is completely off topic.
Okay, yeah.
Being an oceanographer and a scientist, and with the like almost the um, the pollution has eased up so quickly, or the evidence of that we see in our skies from everything, all the less traffic going on and everything. There's less pollution in the sky, everything. How hopeful are you that we can get back to what should be? Do we have that? Do we have hope around that? That's the question I'm asking. Do we have hope for that?
I hope so. I hope that
Yeah.
people, the more we hear about it, and it's funny because we think, oh God, in our absence is when the planet can actually breathe and go back to be okay. And it's like, wow, it is showing us that how destructive as humans we can be. We have forgotten that we are nature, and that the idea is that we all live in harmony, not just between, we cannot even live in harmony between humans, imagine with the plants and animals and the air and the water. So this is an opportunity for all of us to see and hear the news and realize, look how the animals are coming out, the water is looking cleaner, the air is looking cleaner, and just have that awareness that it is in our hands. It's in each one of us to be the change. It's in each one of us to keep our planet going, to create that harmony, to create that balance, to create that a space for everything to actually be in connection with each other. Like happening in my near-death experience, the more we are connected, the more we love, the more we respect, the more we have the kindness and compassion, the more we are creating, the more we are in community. That's the idea. You know, I going to some teaching I received one time from the beings of light, they said to me, you think that eating, that when you're eating just happen to just keep the body alive? They said, no, eating together is a symbol. That's why when Jesus is eating with the disciples, there's a very profound message there, and it's the message of connection. And what we have done even with that practice, people grab their plate, eat by themselves, and watch TV. We're disconnected. We have become disconnected. What is happening with all these crises right now is forcing us to be together, to be at home, to share as family.
Like you said, contrast. The contrast,
Contrast,
right? Yeah.
yes, to share
Full
with friends.
circle.
So,
Here we go.
yeah, so I really hope that people become more conscious, become more aware, open their hearts to our planet, and realize that it is in the hands of each one of us to make the change. We are, people come to me and ask me, how can I do anything to create peace? I mean, I'm just but one person. How can I do anything to bring peace in the world? And I said, you can do nothing or you can do everything. And I said, you can do nothing the moment you think about the collective. Because the moment you think about the collective, you overwhelm yourself. The moment you think about what is happening at the level of the world, oh my God, you're so overwhelmed that you can do nothing. I put the example of a house. And I said, say that you have a big house and the house is a mess. The moment you make the decision that you're going to clean this house, right now, you become disempowered because you're so overwhelmed, you cannot do it.
Right.
And what about you make the decision, I'm going to clean this house room by room. You even make the decision, you know, I cannot even do room by room, space by space. The moment you make that decision, you are a winner. And then, wow, you organize this little space and wow, I did it. You pat yourself in the shoulder because you did it. And then you can invite other person to join you and I help you clean your space. And little by little, you become the change that the world needs. So it's in each one of us. It's not in blaming anybody. It's not in expecting or waiting for others to do it. It's in each one of us. Peace starts with each one of us. And the moment that I have the awareness, how do I behave? How do I treat my parents, my sisters, my husband, my son, myself? Am I being respectful, loving, caring, compassionate to myself, to the people around me? I don't have, people sometimes ask me my purpose, my mission, and they has to be something like, oh Lord, I don't know, be the president of some countries. I said, no, your mission is and your purpose is here and now. Starting with yourself. How do you treat yourself? Do you love yourself? Are you compassionate? How you treat your neighbor? How you treat your brother, your sister, your son, your husband? What is your attitude towards the people around you and towards yourself? Now you are at purpose when you have that clarity and you start being what you truly are, when you start expressing what you truly are, that compassion, that kindness, that peace, then now you are doing something. Now you are fixing the problems of the world.
Exactly.
Yes.
Wonderful. That's a great way to end our hour together here. So Ingrid, thank you so much. Anybody who'd like to look up Ingrid's book, it's A Brightly Guided Life. And your website, Ingrid?
My website is ingridhonkala.com.
So that's INGRIDHON KALA.com.
Yes.
All right. Very good. Thank you. Thanks so much. It was a wonderful hour with you.
Thanks so much for having me here. It was wonderful.
I love hearing your story, and it's a beautiful way to end this with you know, the way things are going right now with the connection, the contrast. So we had to have that contrast in our life the past few weeks to really understand what we had before and what we've got to work towards. So
yeah, and that we have the power. We have the power to change the world one step at a time.
Exactly. Thank you. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Ingrid.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, there we are. We're still there. Okay. Okay. The feed is done. All righty.
Oh,
that was great. Wow, that was a quick hour, wasn't it?
Oh my God, yes. But because I wasn't looking at the time, I was like, am